This wasn't a withdrawal, it was an eviction, forced by the will of millions across the Sahel who said, for the first time in generations, enough. In July 2025, the last French soldier left Senegal, ending over a century of military presence. But this story isn't about France's exit. It's about Africa's entrance onto the world stage on its own terms. This is a story of mass movements, of military juntas capitalizing on public anger, of a desperate grasp for sovereignty, and of a future being written not in Paris or Moscow, but in Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey. This is Mwaki Insights, and we're centering the voices that matter most. I'm your host, and we're going beyond the headlines to the heart of Africa's most dramatic reshaping since independence. Uranium from Niger, powering 1 in 3 French light bulbs, was extracted by French firms while gold flowed to Paris. For years, despite resource exports, poverty rates in the Sahel barely budged. 42% of Nigerians lived in poverty. To call it partnership is wrong. The CFA franc tied 14 nations' wealth to the French treasury.
This wasn't just a series of military coups, it was a revolution powered by organized civilian movements.
In Niger, the M62 movement organized cultural festivals and mass protests. People chanted for Sawaba and sovereignty. Is this true decolonization? Vote now, thumbs up or thumbs down. Their anger wasn't manufactured in Moscow. It was forged in the uranium mines of Arlit and the gold fields of Sadiola. The promise of sovereignty is intoxicating. For the first time, nations like Niger are negotiating their own uranium deals, potentially doubling national revenues. The AES is a monumental achievement, a Pan-African security pact free from colonial strings. This is the dream, articulated in the powerful Niamey Declaration, to reclaim political and economic sovereignty over their territories and natural resources. But the waking reality is a nightmare of security and economic freefall. The French intelligence apparatus is gone. Jihadist groups now control over 40% of Burkina Faso and are expanding. The Russian Africa Corps, which replaced Wagner, has about 1,000 men in Mali, down from 2,000. Their effectiveness is questionable. Reports indicate they primarily protect junta leaders in capitals and are reluctant to engage in high-risk missions. They are not a security solution. They are a mercenary force for hire, often paid in gold mining concessions. And then there's the information war. Russia didn't cause the anti-French sentiment, but it poured gasoline on it through vast disinformation campaigns. Networks like Russosphere run hundreds of accounts, using memes and influencers to amplify existing grievances. and frame Russia as the only alternative. The tragic irony: some populations have simply swapped a distant economic master for a closer, more brutal security master. The hardest truth: the people who will pay the highest price are civilians. Over 3.4 million are displaced. Jihadist attacks are spilling into coastal states like Benin and Togo, where attacks have increased tenfold. Sovereignty is meaningless if you cannot step outside your door without fear. The impact of this sovereign gamble doesn't stop at the AES borders. It's triggering a domino effect that threatens to destabilize all of West Africa. In January 2025, the AES officially splits from ECOWAS. This isn't just a political divorce, it's an economic aneurysm. Niger, a landlocked country, relies on Benin's port of Cotonou for 80% of its trade. Border closures could cripple their economies and fuel the very illicit smuggling economies that jihadists use to fund their operations. The violence is already spilling south. Jihadist groups empowered in the Sahel are now attacking coastal nations. Benin and Togo have seen a tenfold increase in violent incidents on their northern borders. Ghana, a bastion of democracy, is now spending heavily to fortify its north against the coming storm. This creates a horrific feedback loop. Instability creates refugees, which strains the economies of coastal states, which creates more instability. Over 87,000 refugees have already fled to coastal nations, a number that will only grow. This is no longer a Sahel problem, it is an African crisis, and the world is watching the continent's future hang in the balance. So where does this leave us? This isn't a simple story of good guys and bad guys. It's a story of a people who made an incredibly courageous and incredibly risky choice to seize their own destiny. They chose the painful uncertainty of self-determination over the comfortable misery of neocolonial dependence. They bet that they could build their own security, their own economies, and their own alliances. The question is no longer, what will France do, or what will Russia do? The question now is, what will the Sahel do? Can the AES transition from a mutual defense pact against France to an effective governing body for its people? Can it defeat the jihadist threat where others failed? Can it resist becoming a pawn in a new Cold War? This is the defining chapter of 21st century Africa. If this deep dive into their story resonated with you, help us center these voices. Like, share this video, and subscribe to Mwaki Insights for more unfiltered analysis. The world is watching, but most importantly, Africa is acting.